Alright, so for this video, we are going to solve using square roots. So the first thing we have to do is minus 32 on both sides. Now make sure you use the calculator. The 24 comes first, minus 32. So I'm going to get negative 8. Now to undo multiplying by a negative, we're going to have to divide by that negative. Then we have the square root of 2 equals, square root, once again, x squared equals 2. To undo squaring, we have to use the square root. So square root of 2 is x equals about 1.41. Now the calculator will give the positive version. You need to know that it's also the negative version too. Make sure you type it right. You're good to go. For this one, it says how many solutions will we have? So this is really just a two-step. It's okay to put a square root of a fraction. A fraction is just a number, okay? It's not an integer, it's just that. So is it one real solution, two real solutions, or no real solutions? In this case, it's actually 2. It's a positive version, and then it's also a negative version of it. So that's why there's 2 real solutions. And how do you know it without even using a calculator? There's a positive number underneath the square root. All right, for this one, we're going to identify your A equals negative 3, your B equals 5, and then your C equals negative 10. All right, once you identify this, you want to find the discriminant. So B squared, so 5 squared, minus the 4, A is negative 3, and C is negative 10. So we're going to get an answer for the discriminant. Remember, if it's a positive discriminant, you're going to get 2 answers. If it's 0, you're going to get 1. If it's negative, you're going to get none. So look at there, it's negative. So this is a negative 95. So the opposite of B, then do the plus, square root of negative 95 over 2 times negative 3. Now, if you want, you can just stop here. That's fine. If you can't remember that a square root of a negative can't happen right now because you don't know about imaginary numbers, and it says undefined, we just need to realize that means no real solution. Now for this graph, the A was negative, so it needs to be pointing downwards, and then it does not touch the x-axis at all. So anything in the 3rd or 4th quadrant shaped like that would be fine. So you're going to label your A, your B is 10, and your C is 4. 10 squared minus 4 times your A times your C. Just use the calculator. We're going to get equal to 68. Since this is a positive number, we know that we're going to have 2 versions to do. Now that we have the 68, we want to hit divide. Opposite of B, which is 10, the plus version, square root, SQRT, 68, and then 2 times A. Now to get the approximation symbol, you have to hit Shift and squiggly line, it's right next to the 1. You don't have to, you can just keep writing the equal sign. So that is about negative 0.44. Now to get the other x value, change the plus sign to a minus sign. The reason why, because the quadratic formula is plus minus, so you need to have two versions. So when you have that, you can just copy and paste it into the calculator. Remember that adding sign only changes to a minus. That's the only thing that's different. So please notice we have two x values. I did the wrong calculations before, so that's why these numbers are wrong. There you go. Now what does this graph look like? It's going to intersect at negative 0.44 on the x-axis, around negative 4.5 over here. I'm going to go back. My a value was positive. It's a positive 2. So I know my parabola is going to be facing upwards. All right, number one mistake that we see here, students want to call a x squared. A is 1. It's the number in front of x squared. B is 8. C is 16. So we want to plug that into the discriminant. We're going to calculate it. The discriminant says b squared minus 4 times our a, which is 1, times our c, which is 16. I like to use the parentheses to represent multiplying. All right, we're going to get 0. This should be a red flag for you. When you have a discriminant of 0, that means you're only going to get one answer. So even if you do the plus and the minus, the square root of the discriminant over 2a, you're going to get the same number. That means this graph only touches one time. So let's make sure that's accurate. So the opposite of my 8 plus SQRT, 0, all over 2 times our 1 value. All right, we're going to get negative 4. Now, this is what I mean. If you decide to still do the minus, you are going to get the identical answer. Sometimes textbooks refer this to as a double root. It's not double, it's just the same number. So it doesn't mean it crosses at negative 4 2 times. It just means it touches at negative 4 and then bounces back up. So how do we graph that? We go to negative 4 in the graph. My a value was 1, so I know my parabola is going to be a bowl. It's going to be opening upward. Now slide 9 and 10, you do not need to do the whole quadratic formula. It's just asking you to do the discriminant. So honestly, if you go back, see how I only check marked these two because I got lazy? These are the only two that you need to do for slide 9 and 10. A equals 6, B equals 8, C equals 4. Now plug that in like you always have done in these slides. And then use the calculator. I'm going to get a negative 32. A negative discriminant means that I'm going to have no real solutions. And then lastly, A equals 9, B equals 12, C equals 4. Plug that in. We're we're going to have 12 squared minus 4a, which is 9, c, which is 4. We're going to plug that in. All right, I got 0. So this is exactly like slide number 8. When you get a discriminant of 0, that means there is only one real answer. Hopefully you can do this confidence check so we can see where you are and how you're feeling with this topic.